Do you love eating homemade lasagna, but you feel like it takes forever to make? Me too. So today I want to show you how to make a really simple yet super flavorful lasagna soup that will have all of the flavors that you love in traditional lasagna, but made in a soup that is so easy to make. It comes together really quickly, and when you serve it, you top it with this ricotta cheese mixture that you're gonna absolutely love. So stick around, I'm gonna show you how to make lasagna soup for dinner. We're gonna start this recipe by adding a little bit of oil to a large pot, and I always love to use my big Dutch ovens when I make soup. Add one either yellow or white chopped onion, and then you're gonna add your favorite bulk Italian sausage. Now, this tool is one of my favorite kitchen gadgets. It's called a meat chopper or a meat masher, and it makes really quick work of chopping up and crumbling any kind of protein that's really sticky. I find that Italian sausage and ground turkey are both very sticky meats that require a tool like this to work through. Now, once all of the ground meat is mashed up, I like to switch to either a wooden spatula or a wooden spoon just to work through the rest of the recipe and stirring. At this point, you'll want to remove some of the excess grease that is coming from your Italian sausage. This is my method of removing grease. I know everybody has their own method, but what I like to do is tip the pot up and then take a big bunch of paper towels, absorb all of that grease, and then I just take that paper towel, put it in the sink and let it cool down, and then once it's cool enough, I just discard it in the trash can. Now it's time to add some additional flavor to the pot. We are using 4 chopped garlic cloves here, but if you like it really garlicky, add as much garlic as you like. We're gonna add in some tomato paste to really punch up that tomato flavor. And then you're gonna add in a little bit of sugar. And what that's gonna do is actually balance all of the tomato flavors. We've got the tomato paste and we're gonna add some crushed tomatoes, and that sugar is just gonna balance that flavor. Now for some Italian spices, we're gonna add 1.5 teaspoons of dried oregano, 1.25 teaspoons of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and then if you like your soup just a little bit spicy, then you can add in as much red pepper flake as you like. I'm just adding a pinch here because we do not want it overly spicy at our house. Add in 1 bay leaf, get that stirred in. If you're using a dry bay leaf, you want to be careful not to crumble that into the soup because we will remove that later. Now we're going to add in a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes in a heavy puree. And since this is the base of our lasagna soup, we want to make sure to get a pretty good quality crushed tomatoes. I'm using a Cento crushed tomato here, which I find to be very good. Now I like to get all of the crushed tomato out of the can, so I pour some of the chicken broth into the can, stir it around to get all of the bits out of there, and then pour it into the soup. And you'll be able to see here that we got every last bit of that tomato puree out of that can. Now add the rest of the 4 cups of chicken broth, give your pot of soup a little stir. You're gonna pop the lid on just partially and let this simmer for about 20 minutes so all the flavors can develop and everything comes together. Just give it a little stir, and then you wanna make sure that you remove that bay leaf. That is not for eating. The soup is simmering to the side, and I actually have some pasta cooking as well, and we'll talk about how that's gonna get added to the soup. But right now I wanna make the ricotta topping that goes on top of the lasagna soup when it's time to serve. It's a mixture of whole milk ricotta, a little bit of Parmesan or Romano, and then just kosher salt. And if you're really feeling fancy, you can put in a little bit of garlic powder in there as well. We love a good kitchen tip here at Mom's Dinner, and this is one for your leftover cheeses. Never just package it straight up in plastic or in a plastic baggie. You want to wrap your cheese in a little parchment paper or a little wax paper and then wrap it up in the plastic, and it will last way longer than if you just put it in the plastic. All right, now it's time to add some fresh ingredients to this soup. We're going to add some fresh basil right down into the soup to finish everything off. And what we're going to do is actually chiffonade the basil. You just want to put it all right into a little pile, give it a little roll, and then run your knife across that basil. And it's going to cut it into these nice ribbons. Now, some of these ribbons are going to be kind of long, and I don't love that. So I do take my knife across the basil one more time in the opposite direction, just to cut up some of those really long ribbons. This recipe calls for a 1/4 cup of fresh chopped basil. I think I went a little long on that 1/4 cup for this, but we love that flavor, so it all worked out here. All right, at this point, our lasagna soup is ready. We have the lasagna soup base that has the Italian sausage. We have the cooked pasta that we cooked separately, and there's a couple different reasons we actually do that separate. Number one, if you're not going to eat all of the soup in one sitting, you don't want that pasta sitting in the soup in the fridge, because the pasta will absorb all of the liquid and the pasta will overcook in the soup. And so what we like to do is, if we know we're going to eat the whole entire pot of soup, we go ahead and add the pasta, stir it in, and then serve it up. If we don't think we're going to make it through the entire pot of soup, which is today, I don't think we'll eat the whole pot, I leave it separate and I spoon a little pasta into a bowl. So we'll get into the serving. Then we made the ricotta and Parmesan and kosher salt mix that we're going to serve on top. It's nice and cold, so it's a perfect contrast between the warm soup and the warm pasta. And then this cold ricotta and Parmesan kind of melts down into the soup. So delicious. Add a few spoonfuls of your cooked pasta to a bowl. We used a cavatappi pasta here, but any kind of hollow noodle like a penne or a macaroni will work perfectly. Then you want to spoon over a few ladlefuls of that lasagna soup base. I like to give it a little stir so that everything combines and those noodles can soak up some of that hot lasagna soup. And then you're going to spoon some of that cold ricotta over top. So we have the most beautiful bowl of lasagna soup here, and I cannot wait to dig in. When I take a bite, I like to get just a little bit of that ricotta mixture, definitely get some noodles and some of the Italian sausage and the fresh basil. It is so delicious. All right. Whoa. That was like a blast of flavor in your mouth. That is so incredible. The tomato flavors are absolutely balanced. The pasta is perfectly cooked al dente because we cooked it separate from the soup. The ricotta cheese adds the most wonderful contrast of texture and temperature to this soup. You are absolutely gonna love it. So I hope you will make this lasagna soup for dinner this week. If you do, please go into the comments, let me know how it turned out for you, and let me know who loved it in your family. And as always, I hope this recipe helps you feel like a success at dinner time. I'll see you next week.